Well, hello everyone. Gregory Beston here with 306 Vinyl, here to show you part of my collection that I've been working on for the past few years. I used to have, and still do, a love for country music, but the country music that I like is of the older variety. Today's newer stuff is okay, but it's definitely good to get back to the roots of country music and listen to the good storytelling that a lot of it has. Today we're going to focus on a legend, a cornerstone of country music, and one that a fellow that received a great amount of fame and recognition. His name is George Jones. Now I'm going to be borrowing some information on Wikipedia about George, and just to fill in some words on the side, and we're going to look at my collection. I have at least over 32 albums from George the Possum, and I'd like to go over them with you, and I hope you enjoy. The first one I'm going to look at here is George Jones and Gene Pitney. I have a few of them together. I'm not sure exactly what got both these two guys together, but Gene Pitney I've seen on lots of old school records, and seems to be another country music star. I like the watercolor on this album cover, and it looks like a painting someone did. I'm sure that's the artist's signature right there. Let's see here. Maybe Little Baby, You Are the One, Sweet Dreams, Any Old Time, Cradle of My Arms, Please Come Back to Me Baby, I'll Find You, I'm Going Back to My Love. This record was produced by Design Records. The Greatest Country Western Hits. Design has created a library of country and western music, which includes the greatest hits recently years sung by artists who have made them hits. Among these albums, you'll find Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline, Hank Lachlan, Carl Bellew, T. Texas Tyler. What is country music anyway? And just why is it becoming so increasingly popular? Not only in small towns, but in major cities from Chicago to Miami and Boston, Los Angeles. There are those who say that country and western music has its roots in folk music, the songs that original settlers of the southern mountains brought over from England with them and passed down from generation to generation, the songs the original cowboys sang to pass away the lonesome hours on the range. Other points to the effect are New Orleans jazz and the blues of today's country and western music. Certainly some of the greatest country tunes are based on the blues and jazz harmonies and have found their way into much of the music. Still others point out that the emergence of rock and roll from country and western music. It's perfectly true that early rock and roll stars came from country backgrounds, the same as the biggest R&R hits, to deal with themes similar to country and western fans. Themes that like love, loneliness, hard luck, religion, and country humor. When you come right down to it, country and western music is none of these. And all of them. Country and western music in America sings songs of love, songs of hope, songs of neighborliness, songs of grief and suffering. Perhaps the reason for its rapid spread and popularity in recent years is that it strikes a responsive chord in each of us. It's music with something to say. Here's your opportunity to build your country music library at a fraction of the price we expect you to pay. Made to standards as critical as any industry considering a pure vinyl. And we got some pictures. There's George at the bottom. I think Johnny next to him. Johnny Cash. I think that's Hank Lachlan right there. And, that's Patsy Cline. Very nice. We're going to place George and Gene over here, and we're going to look at our next one. Some of these don't have sleeves, so I'm going to keep busy by adding sleeves to these if we need to. The next one we're going to look at here is George Jones and Tammy Wynette, who were separate stars in their own rights, but eventually got married and had a child. And Tammy Wynette has some great music all by herself. The album is Golden Ring, perhaps referring to their wedding ring. And I'm just going to set you guys down for a second. Look at this. Oh, this one's got a sleeve. Golden ring. This one's from Epic Records. George Jones, Golden Ring, produced by Billy Sherrill, Columbia Recording Studios, Nashville. 1976 is when this one came out. Side 1, Golden Ring, Even the Bad Times Are Good, Never You, Crying Time, I've Seen Better Days. Side 2, Did You Ever, Tattletale Eyes, I'll Be There If You Ever Want Me, If You Don't, Somebody Else Will, Keep the Change. Photography by Jim Marshall. Album design, Bill Burns. Just my son, who's going to eat some goldfish. Let's look at our next one. I made leaving easy for you. I made leaving easy for you. I'll share my world with you. A good old-fashioned cry. Each season's changes you, for better or for worse, but not for long. I cried myself awake. Late getting home. You could always come back. If not for you. And third time down. Got a nice picture of an old carriage and a road. Looks like autumn time. Product of Telemade Productions. Produced by Pappy Daly. Every record is a super hit. When I'm with you, I lose all control, goes the line in Late Getting Home, one of the 6 new Jones blockbusters in this album. And folks, the songwriter didn't know it at the time, but he was giving an accurate observation of how people all over this great world have responded to George Jones. The famous Jones Boys hails from Texas, and like that state, every little thing George does is big and powerful. Speaking of Texas, old Billy Bailey, program director of Houston's countrypolitan station KIKK, recently made an apt description of George. He's as country as cornbread, yet as sophisticated as Tiffany's on Fifth Avenue. His chart-topping releases are legend, and if you are one of the countless thousands who make every George Jones record a super hit, there's no one else to tell you how our guitar-picking songwriting reads a tune. If you are so unfortunate as to not be on the Jones team, well, this album will surely do the trick. Swing on board as George delivers 10, count 'em, tunes of 6 of which never before been released. These include Little Songs I Made, Leaving Easy for You, what she and Tammy Wynette wrote, along with Good Old Fashioned Cry, Each Season's Change, and Late Getting Home. You could always come back at third time down. I think that I can't go on without you. There is no use to try, writes George in Good Old Fashioned Cry. And people, after you experience George Jones, you just want to go on without him. You won't want to go on without him, sorry. This is a guarantee. George Jones, musical, mild, mellow, magnificent, and best of all, yours. Very nice. Yep, this one's got a cover on it. From Victor Records. There it is. Settle George down. The first three we did. All right. Next George we're going to look at is George Jones and Margie Singleton. From Mercury Records, it appears. Duets Country Style. Waltz of the Angels. Did I Ever Tell You? Yearning, When Two Worlds Collide. Not Even Friends. Looking Back to See. Are You Mine? I Want to Be Where You're Gonna Be. Talk About Lovin'. I Didn't Hear You. Stereo, also playable on mono. Ooh. Looks like I had two George Jones albums crammed in there, but no sleeve. Margie Singleton and George Jones duet country style. I met Margie Singleton in her hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, a number of years ago, just on the eve of her first record released. I was impressed highly with her sweet sincerity, her humbleness, and her ambition to become a singer. The ambition to become a singer has now been fulfilled, and she is still some sweet, sincere, humble person. I met her years ago at Shreveport. That is what still impresses me, to retain those qualities after success comes, and sometimes very hard to do. She has done it. I once heard someone remark that George Jones was one of the only singers that had heard who could express completely hilarity and comedy in the novelty songs, and then turn right around and completely tear your heart out with a song of sadness and heartbreak. He is blessed with a particular talent. His first big record, Why Baby Why, was a combination of the two. This young man from the Gulf Coast of East Texas is, to my estimation, one of the greatest country music singers living today. This is not only my opinion, it is the opinion of the biggest majority of the country music artists today. Combined with the talents of George and Margie, and you almost got a come up with something great. And they did it, I'm sure you agree. From the rock and roll swinging sounds of the great Brooks Benton Danish Washington hits, Baby You Got What It Takes, and the heart-tugging Roger Miller ballad, When Two Worlds Collide, George and Margie make duets country style on this album, the style with You Got It, Just Put the Needle to It, and really enjoy two great young artists together, George Jones and Margie Singleton. From Ed Hamilton, WEN Radio, Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, in most records, they like to advertise other albums that you can buy. Mercury Wing, big names in recording are on the Mercury Wing. Outstanding albums valued for every popular taste. I'll go and bump some quick information on George Jones on source Wikipedia here. September 12th, 1931 to April 26, 2023, when he passed, was an American country musician, singer, and songwriter. He achieved international fame for a long list of hit records and his distinctive voice and phrasing. For the last 2 decades of his life, George frequently referred to as the greatest living country music singer. Jones had been called the Rolls-Royce of country music and had more than 160 chart singles to his name from 1955 until his death in 2023. His earliest musical influences were Roy Cliff and Bill Monroe, although the artistry of Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell helped crystallize his voice style. He served in the United States Marine Corps and was discharged in 1953. In 1959, Jones recorded White Lightning, written by the Big Bopper, which launched his career as a singer. Years of alcoholism compromised his health and led to missing many performances, earning him the nickname No Show Jones. Jones died at 2013, age 81, from hypoxic respiratory failure. And then there's a shot of him in 2023. Sorry, 2002. All right. Here's another George Jones we're going to look at. 12 brand new hit songs. George Jones, Mr. Country and Western Music. It's a nice painting of him. And the classic nudie suits that I hear so much about that were stylish at the time. They say it in Nashville, Tennessee. They say it all over the world. George Jones is one of the great ones. George Jones leaped into the public eye at the age of 12 with the smash hit that he had composed himself, Why Baby Why, and went on to record hit after hit. He was a top 10 hits all of his own and soon became a key fixture on the famous Grand Ole Opry. Today, as a famous country and western recording artist of the world, George Jones can do no wrong. This album proves it. Side 1, I Just Lost My Favorite Girl. What's Bad for You is Good for Me. Don't Ever Get Tired. How Proud I Have Been. Flowers for Mama. Gonna Take Me Away From You. I Can't Get Used to Being Lonely. Let a Little Lovin' Come In. The Selfishness in Man. Worst of Luck. Even the Bad Times Are Good. The Sea Between Our Hearts. Here are some the country western tunes made famous by George Jones. White Lightning, Tender Years, Why Baby Why, Just One More Life to Go, She Thinks I Still Care, Your Heart Turned Left, Where Does a Tear Come From, Windows Up Above, The Race Is On. And Columbia Records. Symbol right there. Also available in stereo. So I don't know if this was a mono record. It might be. Let's see. nice sleeve in it. Guaranteed high fidelity. And it says here, litho in Canada. I think it was meant to say lathed in Canada. And that would be when the record was cut, as far as my knowledge goes. Next one. George Jones, Golden Hits. She Thinks I Still Care. Girl I Used to Know. The Race Is On. You Comb Her Hair. Your Heartbeat Turned Left. Not What I Had in Mind. Where Does a Little Tear Come From? Open Pit Mine. Big Fool of the Year. Least of All. My Tears Are Overdue. Ain't It Funny What a Fool Will Do? It's a nice looking cover. I like that. They got the information on either side. Almost like a flag. High Fidelity, United States, United Artists Records. The great George Jones is long range as one of the most important and most popular performers in the world of country and western music. His long and impressive list of hit singles and hit albums for United Artists Records over the past years has few and if any equal in the CW field, country western. Accordingly, attention most have paid to our collection, which is very apt, called George Jones Golden Hits. It has been a long time coming and has been presented at the request of scores upon scores of rabid, devoted, and stylish vocalists of the Jones Boys. Actually, George Jones Golden Hits put itself together. One of the UA's historians simply accumulated a list of George's biggest success of the label. Another expert then programmed the 12 sides for listening purposes, and there it was. A dozen tunes containing are, of course, all familiar to those of us who have delighted in the chanting of George. They have all been positioned high in bestseller list and have all been played time and time again on the radio. Those of us who have been fortunate enough to catch George Jones' personal appearance or on television stint have also cheered for these particular renditions to the rafters. Here then are the big ones of George Jones together for every first time in one album. Here are George Jones' Golden Hits. You'll love them before and you will love them again and again. Produced by Pappy Daly. And some more albums. Next one. George Jones, Heartache by the Number, from Mercury Records again. I like this picture. Like I said, more of the nudie suits, the costumes of country music stars. It's a good picture of George. Stereo. Record label. Songs, Heartache by the Numbers, Gotta Talk to Your Heart, I Wouldn't Know About That, Long Time to Forget, No Money in This Deal, Side 2, Seasons of My Heart, You Better Treat Your Man Right, You Never Thought, Just One More. Country and Western music is hot in its popularity and is on the upswing and has been soaring for the last couple of years. These twanging guitars are busy git fiddles and calling unto the fans of young and old all over the world. One clear voice piping above all the rest is George Jones. With his original songs and satisfying interpretation, he has proved to be, like Williams and Rogers, Hank Williams and Roger Miller, one of the greatest singers of our time. To compare him with Williams takes no great stretch of the imagination, for he is a prolific writer and realistic and compelling songs, as Williams was. And his performing of distinction, those music reflects the temper of the 70s, much as Hank Williams caught the whole and everlasting flavor of the early 50s. A deep humanity, shy smile, down-to-earth manner, and off the stage, George Jones, being himself, have carried him successfully to the heart of country music fans everywhere. Playing one of his records is like sitting down to a conversation with a good friend. Knowing how he has felt himself, he understands how others feel. With the ability to create music that gives feelings to the world, George produced songs that have the meaning to us all. This album reveals the talents and moods which have made George Jones a favorite. So if you are a staunch country music western fan, conservative collector of specials, or a lucky newcomer about to stumble upon a brand new world of music, George Jones is especially for you. All right. George Jones with my very special guests. Willie, Waylon, Linda, Paycheck, Mavis, Pop, Tammy, Ray, Dennis, James Taylor, Costello. Let's see here. Ashtray. Course the label's turned. Another ashtray. Another beer. Coffee cups. Coke bottle. That's empty. Another ashtray by the piano. Some more beers. Produced by Bill Sherrill at the Master CBC Recording Studio. Nightlife with Waylon Jennings. Bartender Blues with James Taylor. Here We Are with Emalu Harris. I've Turned You to Stone with Linda Ronstadt. It Sure Was Good with Tommy Wynette. I Gotta Get Drunk with Willie Nelson. Proud Mary with Johnny Paycheck. Stranger in the House with Elvis Costello. I Still Hold Her Body, but I Think I've Lost Her Mind with Dennis and Ray of Dr. Hook. And will the circle be unbroken with Pop and Mavis Staples? Who says George Jones right there? So George Jones with a 2-record set, 24 favorite songs, and with that classic possum look. Columbia Records Club exclusive. She doesn't open up, but she's got a space divider in there for the 2 records. George Jones, Country Heart. Vocals, compliments by the Jordanaires. "4033, Let a Little Love Come In, How Proud I Would Have Been, We're Watching Our Step, Old Brush Arbors, The Race Is On, Take Me to the Ship of Love, I Can't Get Used to Being Lonely, Walk Through This World with Me, Flowers for Mama, He Must Have Been Out of His Mind, Things Have Gone to Pieces, If You Believe Gonna Take Me Away from You, Till I Hear It from You, I'm Wasting Good Paper, White Lightning, From Here to the Door, Don't Keep Me Lonely Too Long, The Sea Between Our Hearts, Developing My Pictures, I Just Lost My Favorite Girl, The Selfishness of Man. George Jones with Love. George Glenn Jones was born on September 12, 1931 in Saratoga, Texas. He was raised with his brother and 5 sisters in Clements, Texas. I butchered that. In the Big Thicket region of southeast Texas. His father, George Washington Jones, worked in a shipyard and played harmonica and guitar with his mother, Clara Neal Patterson, played piano in a Pentecostal church on Sundays. When Jones was born, one of the doctors dropped him and broke his arm. He heard country music for the first time when he was 7 and when his parents bought a radio. Jones recalled the Billboard in 2006 that he would lie in bed with his parents on Saturday night listening to the Grand Ole Opry and would insist that his mother wake him up if he fell asleep so that he could hear Roy Acuff and Bill Monroe. George Jones with Your Love. Music Core Records, stereo. This one has A Good Year for the Roses, I'll Follow You, Up to Our Cloud, Playing Possum, Try, Going Life's Way, I Know, Divorce or Destroy, Loving You Makes You Mine, A Day in the Life of a Fool, Never Grow Cold. Produced by Pappy Daly. Pappy must have did a lot of work for Jones. Seen him a lot on there. We're getting on here. George Jones, you've still got a place in my heart. Look at that. That's a good picture of him. Sorry, the plastic's still on this. Kind of hard to see with the light reflection. We're not gonna watch George. I know, man. A little bit expensive at the time. There is no question that George Jones is a master of the sad song. He should be. He has lived a life steeped in enough misery and self-destructiveness to generate an endless string of bits. But we must remember that George Jones' musical reputation was constructed on the base of much broader than a sad song. Call to mind in 1950s when, like our nation, George was youthful, innocent, and untroubled. His early career was built upon upbeat, cheerful, and humorous songs like The Race Is On and White Lightning. Still Got a Place in My Heart is very much reminiscent of his earlier years, which is also being a reflection of his present life. Ragged But Right, a tune he wrote in 1956, expenses the happy-go-lucky, irrelevant philosophy towards life he had earlier on. The second time around and Learning to Do Without Me are both reassuring tunes that mirror a more optimistic Jones than we've known in the recent past. And with a little cut, the title cut, George delivers a special message to his fans to let them know that he still cares. You Still Got a Place in My Heart is an album which his fans will find fun with George, for it is the truth be known. It is as adept at being a joyful crooner as he been the disheartened warbler by way of his music. We have followed his life through thick and thin, ups and downs, and lived with him through popular times and lighthearted moments. With this collection, we'll feel more like tapping your toe than tapping into a key of whiskey. You'll be inclined to cheerfully whistle instead of cry, and you'll discover that a man who has brought us so much sadness could also bring us laughter. Still Got a Place in My Heart proves without question that George Jones still has a place in our hearts. He's Still Got a Place in Our Heart, From Strangers to Lovers to Friends, The Second Time Around, Come Sundown, Even the Bad Times Are Good, I'm Ragged But Right, Country in the Rain, Love Shine, Your Lying Blue Eyes, Learning to Do Without Me. Also on cassette. For the first time, two great stars, George Jones and Gene Pitney. Another one where these guys are teaming up. I got $5 and it's Saturday night. My shoes keep walking back to you. I really don't want to know. Things have gone to pieces. Don't rob another man's castle. Wearing my heart away. Wreck on the highway. I got a new heartache. Sweeter than the flowers. One has my name. I am a fool to care. Born to lose. Honestly, some rough pictures they decided to use. I think George is losing some of his hair at the top of his head. Oh, there's a picture of them together in the studio. That's nice. George Whitney? Pitney? Oh, there's Pappy Daly right there next to Whitney. Pitney, sorry. Pappy Daly and Art Telemanage, president of the Music Core Records, during a recording session of this very album. What happens when America's #1 country singer and America's #1 teen singer team up in one album? Dynamite. You're in for the thrill of a lifetime when you hear George Jones and Gene Pitney together on your favorite all-time country tunes. If you put all these best-selling platters of George Jones and Gene Pitney end to end, you get halfway to the moon. George started on his skyrocketing career at the ripe old age of 12 with a smash hit on his compilation, Why Baby Why. He soon became one of the leading lights in the Grand Ole Opry, and then on to stardom as one of the top country music western artists of the world. He has a top 10 of hits all of his own. Gene Pitney's fame extends to every corner of the globe where records are sold. His discs are smash hits in dozens of countries. Next to the United States, he's a particular favorite in England and Italy, where he records in his native tongue. These sessions record on Nashville, Tennessee, January 6, 1965, which is one of the most unusual to take place in a city known for its famous country music recordings. To record both of them on the same record was a sheer darling, but the results were delightful. Gene Pitney, with his outstanding musical ability, immediately grasped the feeling of country songs, and the session proved to be extremely easy to do. So here we have it. For the first time anywhere, two unusual talents combined to give you one of the outstanding albums in the musical world. We hope you'll enjoy listening to as much as we did. From Pappy Daly. Gene's songs. Recorded in Nashville. George Jones, anniversary, 10 years of hits. George is looking a little aged in this one. Decided to follow up with a younger version of him. Well, this one opens up. Gatefold. I got a picture of George there. Very nice. Lots of information. Nice. George has got some nice gold bracelet, necklace, and ring. It's a 2-disc hit. The anniversary album. The anniversary album, if for nothing else, serves as a document of monumental contributions George Jones has made to the country music just the past 10 years, to remind us how vital his music and presence are to the very heart and soul of music. No matter what personal battles the future may still hold for him, no matter what sort of struggles and his creativity and emotional vulnerability still lie ahead of him, he stands as a legend and as a man who wrote a definitive how-to book on singing sad country songs. History almost goes without trying, George Jones has, over the past 25 years, set the standard against which all contemporary country singers have ultimately measured. Many will tell you flat out that he is the greatest hard country vocalist ever to wrap a set of gilded vocal cords around and throw a troubled heart into a great honky-tonk ballad. George's voice, when is unleashed, it has the power of the great primal scream of sorrow conjuring up bottomless pathos, that this is a sense the honky-tonk desperation. In more restrained musical moments, he can emote with similar ease all the softer emotional shades, tenderness, and devotion of the voice that is pure and continued. Epic Records. Okay. George Jones sings his hits of Country Cousins, Stereo United Artists. Just as there have been great artists in the country and western fields, so have there been tunes which, with association with the legendary figures, also become the standards in the area. Some have crossed over to the pop field and reached major hit proportions. George Jones is one of the men who, despite his youth, had already entered a magic circle of country and western greats. His records are consistently in the best top-selling charts, and he is a constant demand for popular appearances in every corner of this country and Canada. For this album, George was selected a dozen songs as made famous by other stars in the country and western field, including such names as the great Roy Acuff, Webb, Pierce, Hank Williams, Eddie Arnold, and many others. Their songs will be, of course, easily recognized for those who have followed country music parade, but the rendition is a particular style of George Jones, the same stylish which brought him acclaim wherever country music is played. Beggar to King, Peace in the Valley, I Could Never Be Ashamed of You, Silver Dew on the Bluegrass Tonight, The Precious Jewel, It's a Sin, Don't Let the Stars Get in Your Eyes, Give My Love to Rose, The Same Sweet Girl, Yes I Know Why, Wings of a Dove, A Little Bitty Tear. Stereo makes it possible for United artists to create a full dimensional sound of the original music. The thrilling experience of live performances have been predominantly captured in these recordings and enjoyed wherever you choose. For complete protection of the records, gloves, best possible reproduction of stereo cartridge stylus should be used. Look at that. That's a nice one. Looks good. Look at this suit. It's very nice. Rose. George Jones sings from the heart. Gotta talk to you, your heart, tender years, heartaches by the number. I got a new heartache, cold, cold heart, frozen heart. Talk to me, oh lonesome heart. Hearts in my dream, candy hearts. When my heart's hurt no more. I think they're going with a theme with this one. No matter what kind of song George Jones has sung in his swift rise to the top of country and western music field, sacred music and tributes to other artists, he's always returned to the subject of love, so that the title of his new album, George Jones Sings from the Heart, have two meanings. One meaning, of course, is that there is a collection of songs about love, new, old, unrequited, joyful, and hurting. The other meaning is perhaps even the most important. It indicates that George Jones believes completely in the songs he sings and projects the belief directly to the listener. The wonderful quality is partly due to the fact that, as almost always in the case when George records a good many of songs that have been written by him, in that way he is able to give his audience a sense of sharing in his true and deepest emotions. The audience has felt that he's responded to it, making George's career one of the most exciting in recent years. That career recently started to reach its present high place when George, who's become a Beaumont, Texas, completed his service in the Marines. He is asked to join the Grand Ole Opry, an association which is most unfailing stepping stone at stardom in country and western music. He also recorded one of the companies around Nashville, which specializes in country music. A Mercury recording contract followed, and when Why Baby Why was released in 1955, his success was assured. A later George Jones hit, Seasons in My Heart, received a full complement of being included in Johnny Cash's collection of country classics. Now comes a new album of love songs, George Jones Sings from the Heart. It reveals fully the talented moves of which have made George a favorite. Cold, Cold Heart is one of the most enduring songs of the late Hank Williams. Greatest of all country music composers were called George's wonderful tribute to George Jones salutes Hank Williams. Heartache by the Number was a great hit a few years ago and one of George's most successful colleagues, Ray Price, but in each case George brings his own compelling personality and style to the songs, and new, strikingly original performance results. Since these songs are about the heart, all but lovely tender years, you may have noticed certain the words of title. It is natural that his album presents George with the best opportunity he has ever had to display his talents and record, as he has taken fullest advantage of the opportunity. He is always careful, consulting in the matter of recording, for he has very definite ideas about what he wants to sing and how he wants it to sound. There is no lack of variety here. If you are in love, if you have been, or even if you would just like to be there in the song on the album, perfectly suited to your state of mind. For George Jones' gift, knowing how he has felt himself, is understands how others feel. His ability to put these feelings into words, to create music, the great adding meaning of other words, and finally to sing and play his own creation, so that the meaning for all of us. Here's how he feels to be in love, with all the wonder, longing, and heartbreak it can bring. Here are songs that might have written for each one of us alone, and here are the artistry that is always presented with George Jones Sings from the Heart. Look at that. I got here. Got the Best of George Jones. It's that classic cover we saw on the back of one of the other records. George Jones appears to be destined to join the ranks of all the great country music western stars. A little over 8 years, he had climbed the ladder of stardom, and that he is now one of the nation's top country stars on the records and on the personal appearance circuit. He has become one of the favorites on the All-Star Stubbed Grand Ole Opry show, and in 1968, he won many awards as the top country western stars of the year. Although the rise from his meteoric, Jones decided he wanted to become a singer until after he was discharged from the U.S. Marines in 1953 and started with the Houston Jamboree in 1954 and joined the Louisiana Hayride. In 1955, he joined the Opry. In 1956, his first hit was Why Baby Why. In 1955, he joined the Opry as a star and kept ascending, and then by 1960, he was turning out hit records in a steady stream and has continued to turn out hits ever since. In the album, George Jones sings many songs that he wrote himself in the warm and tender manner that he made such a big favorite throughout the country. It spotlights a George Jones style, a George Jones touch, and that's enough to please as many fans from coast to coast to gain him more adherents from both the country and from the pop fields. It also indicates that he is a performer. George is still going up. She's lonesome again. The kind of loving won't do. Jonesy, I never let go of you. Lonesome old town, forgive me now. You done me wrong. Color of the blues. Cutting a rug. A real close friend. I won't love you anymore. And ragged but right. Wait. Got to sleep in that one. Let me see. Nothing but George. Nothing but George. As we go on further and further. George Jones and Melba Montgomery. What's in our heart? Until then, don't go. Don't tell me there's a friend in the way, flame in my heart. Let's invite them over. We must have been out of our minds. Suppose tonight we could be our last. I let you go. Multiply the heartaches. She's my mother. Yeah, that's a nice picture of both of them. It's more like a drawing, but old cameras, I guess. There's been many male-female duos in the field of country music, but few have hit the impact a combination of George Jones and Melba Montgomery. Their first release together, We Must Have Been Out of Our Minds, has been a hit in the country field for close to 6 months. We made the combination of best-selling George Jones and the little-known Melba Montgomery so strong was the sincerity of which they sang the song that brought them the prominence as a duo. Miss Montgomery wrote the tune, We Must Have Been Out of Our Minds, and it is written in our heart that we made it hit the fact that both George and Melba sang it from the heart as well. This album features a pair of strong collection of weepers, those songs so popular in country idiom concern heartbreak and loneliness, unrequited love, and love that's outside of the marriage that vows and therefore impossible to fulfillment. A number of songs were written by Melba Montgomery, and one, Suppose Tonight Would Be Our Last, by she and George Jones together. Those songs and other touching weepers are in fine collections sung by Jones and Miss Montgomery in the artless, effortless way, a manner that makes you believe that they sing, makes you respond to open word of lyrics to the songs. These songs that show you that their hearts of the singers and thus touch the listeners' hearts as well. Their meaningful performances in this new album should help to remain one of the top duos in the country field for many years to come. We need some more plastic. George Jones, The Grand Tour. Oh, this cover's a little beat up. Requires a sleeve. Epic Records. I always like the sticker on the Epic Records. I know a lot of rock and roll had this one on it, but it looks like a Target. Not much to read in the back of this, but the song list. The Grand Tour, Darling, Pass Me By, If You Are Passing Through, She'll Love the One She's With, Once You've Had the Best, The Weatherman, Borrowed Angel, She Told Me So, Mary Don't Go Around, Who Will Be Loving You Now, and Our Private Life. Cool. George Jones, A Cup of Loneliness. A beautiful new album. Sleeves have all been robbed. Cup of Loneliness, Unclouded Day, The Small Time Laboring Man, Wandering Soul, Give Me Just One Day, Lord, Take the World But Give Me Jesus, Tagging Along, The Good Old Bible, Bringing It Home, Family Tribe. Many of the outstanding stars of the country music are almost equally well known for their strong religious qualities. Their faith, like their guitar, is part of every performance. In fact, which becomes crystal clear when inspiring moments arrive for every country music show when it's gospel singing time. Many of the best-known country music artists eventually chose to duplicate through their recordings the thrilling moments of communion with the master. What should they bring with their live audience and the highlight of every show? George Jones widely recognizes the majority country singing talent in the scene today is of no exception. George feels that many of his contemporaries in the business that are sacred moments are to be shared in all the friends of fans. In fact, that has led to the first album of gospel favorites, Old Brush of Doors, issued last year by RecordCollection, and the LP, which is immediately continuing success in the single recording titled songs, Old Brush Arbors, also become sizable hits on the country charts. For the second LP excursion, This is the World of Gospel, George has selected a number of songs which is found to be particular favorites in his personal experiences. On the One-Nighter Trail, the famous Grand Ole Opry, and network television, joining George on these meaningful songs are the well-known Jordanaires, one of the most respected names in all gospel singing circles. The combination of sheer emotional appeal to these songs are prevalent voice of George Jones and the Jordanaires, and I find it to be a tonic to ease today's cares and strengthen souls of the trials of tomorrow. And now the moment is here, the gospel singing time. Once you tasted the musical cup, you will savor its simply musical message time and time again. Cup of Loneliness. As the titles on the floor, grow, grow, and grow, and grow. I've listened to all of these probably a few times, but not nearly as enough as I should. Oh. Blue Lonesome George Jones. Oh, lonesome me, life to go, just a little boy blue, cup of loneliness, nobody's lonesome for me. There will be no teardrops tonight. Color of the blues, go away with me, tuck to me a little heart. If you got the money, I've got the time. Singing the blues, don't stop the music. A little known fact of the world of music, more great songs have been written about being lonesome and blue than about being happy. It's also known the fact that the world country music is one of the greatest singers in lonesome blues songs is that Jones boy from Texas, George. This young man, as an unknown ex-Marine just a few years ago, became the nation's #1 country singer. In 1963, he gathered in just about every award handed out for that position, and from the looks of things, he held on to them for a long time to come. This is George's umpteenth album for Mercury and probably one of the best collections of lonesome blues songs ever done. One of the great ones begins the album of Don Gibson's Oh Lonesome Me. Has become a standard not only in country field but also as a pop field. No collection of this type of songs would be complete without the latest, a couple from the great Hank Williams. George does two of his greats here, Nobody's Lonesome for Me and There'll Be No Teardrops Tonight. Then there's a big hit of Marty Robbins written by Melvin Ensley, Singing the Blues. For a variety of the change of pace, George has excluded Lefty Frizzle's If You Got the Money, I've Got the Time, and Jamie Foxx's Just Little Boy Blue. Talk to Me Lonesome Heart was a big hit for one of George's fellow Texans, James O'Gowan. There are 4 songs on the album that George either wrote or co-wrote. Life to Go, and it's a sad tale of a man resigned to the fate of spending the rest of his life in prison reflecting on his past. Don't Stop the Music tells of the rejected lover whose girl is out with another and won't give up and go home. Color of the Blues is co-written by Lawton Williams and just tells how many different colors of the blues can be. Couple Loneliness, written by George, tells the story of a deep loneliness suffered by Jesus and reminds us the reminder of our bitter days of being scorned and all alone. Accompanying George are some of the top musicians in Nashville. Throughout the album, you'll hear the fiddle of Tommy Jenkins Repue's Thoderax and electric guitars and Grady Martin. Harold Bradley, Jerry Kennedy, and Hank Gerald, the steel guitars of Buddy Emmons and Jimmy Day, the piano, the Pig Robbins, and the drums of Buddy Harman. And if you're blue and lonesome, some fans will love this album. And if you're George Jones fans, this would be a great addition to your collection. Ed Hamilton. George Jones sings the song of Dallas Frazier. I can't get there from here, looking for my feel good, when love was green, hanging on to the one and hanging around the others. Half of me is gone. The honky tonk downstairs. My baby left her jingling John for Foldin' Fred. The girl I almost knew. There ain't no grave deep enough. There's nothing left for you. There ain't no grave deep enough. I like that. My baby left her jingling John for Foldin' Fred. George Jones, the man has come to be known as the king of country song, as it is again with this telling the program of country love ballads. I could find him, most of them in the weepier and heartbreak groove. The legendary ballad, of course, is one of the most compelling types of all kinds. It stays with the longest and makes you think the most. The kind of fact that the country fans who know what it's all about to come from expect from unfailing talent of Dallas Frazier. Let's face it, almost everybody's songs would sound just a little bit greater when given the full emotion treatment of George Jones. But here's George sings the entire program of songs of Dallas Frazier, one of his favorite songwriters. You see immediately the new kind of excitement that generated when two great talents get together. Just look at the titles, pictures, and story clear cut through that have been told and hanging onto one and hanging around the other. Or the money-minded woman depicted in Frazier's My Baby Left Her, Jingle and John for Fold and Fred. And the rest of those titles take There's Nothing Left for You, The Girl I Almost Knew, I Can't Get There From Here, and There Ain't No Grave Deep Enough are all their own tales of romantic trouble and pain. Many country songwriters have become almost revered and following as the stars who sing their songs, and many have had their tunes immortalized in full album performances. But the big names of these country field singing's splendid background assistants and framed Jordanaires, George Jones was given voices and songs of Dallas Frazier, certainly one of the most talented without doubt and one of the fastest rising young writers in the whole country orbit. Listen to your favorite country songs. George Jones sings songs of his favorite composer, Dallas Frazier. Producer, Pappy Daly. Pappy was in all this shit. He had his thumb in George's pie, I tell you what. Another sleeve for the record. Oh, yeah. It's a pile, a pile, a pile. George Jones, Trouble in Mind. Trouble in mind, you've done me wrong. It's a sin. My tears are overdue. Brown to blue, lonesome old town. Worried mind. I heard you crying in your sleep. Sometimes you just can't win. A little bitty tear. Take those chains from my heart and lonesome life. Trouble in My Mind is a new George Jones album where nobody, but absolutely nobody, could sing the troubles like the king of country and western rhymes. George is the unqualified leader of country vocalists and is indeed a rarity in his name and is not at the very top of the best-selling or popular poll, whether it be in the United States or internationally, where his fame, his acceptance seems to be growing by leaps and bounds. It is reports that Jones' devotees are found in such remote spots as Tasmania, New Zealand, Iraq, and Guyana. You heard it here, folks. Iraq loves George Jones, and why not? Trouble in Mind is certainly a definitive George Jones showcase. There are dozens of tunes following the basic theme and wonderful title songs. Unrequited love of our George is a way of melancholy ballad and incomparable. The songwriters include a group of names very familiar with country music fans. Names like Country Johnny Mathis, George Riddle, Jimmy Davis, Hank Williams, and the Jones Boys himself, whose versatility is indicated in the quartet in which he either composed or co-authored. Songs are a dozen of mournful gems and all the distinctive Jones feelings, such a classics as The Tears Are Overdue, Lonesome Old Town, Worried Mind, and Take These Chains Off My Heart are superb examples of George in such a giant in his own particular field. These are very few people that have gone through life without something, sometime, or someplace experiencing trouble in mind. In this album, the great George Jones sings these moments with unique flair that he had made him reach the very pinnacle of his profession, a spot where he'll be no doubt stay for many, many years to come.
Yeah, you're done.
Not yet.
I'm trying to watch my video and eat my banana. Tell me what you're doing in the video.
Yeah, I'm doing my video.
Is it okay if this
Yeah, that's fine. George Jones Songs of Memories. Poor Little Rich Boy, Book of Memories, I Heard You Crying in Your Sleep, Peace in the Valley, Best Guitar Picker, Sometimes I Dreamed, There's No Justice, A Real Close Friends, Flame in My Heart, The Warm Red Wine. George and Tammy Jones Wynette. Sorry, George Jones and Tammy Wynette. I read that from top to left, not bottom. Top to bottom, top to bottom. It's a nice picture. Golden Ring, Womanhood, Near You. Her song is Take Me, Woman to Woman, Old Fashioned Singing. Loving You Could Be Better, Southern California. Let's Get Together One Last Time. We're going to hold on. The Grand Tour. Ceremony. You Make Me Want to Be a Mother. We're Not the Jet Set. Once You Had the Best. Let's Build a World Together. Till I Can Make It on my own. I Loved It Anyways. The Door. Okay, George Jones and Gene Pitney again. Country time again. George and Gene shook up the music industry when they recorded their first album together. George and Jones and Gene Pitney, Music Core, MM244. The duet climbed the pop charts and the country western charts, and fate roughly compared to movie-winning Oscars on both Best Musical and Best Drama of the Year. The fans loved it, and so did Country Time again. Here are the fresh for another recording session, Nashville, Tennessee. This time the boys concentrated on all-time favorites as Mockingbird Hill, Y'all Come, Changing Partners. They include their smash hit, Louisiana Man. Teen of these 12 great side duets by George, and also solo Love Bug, and Gene sings this I Can't Stop Loving You solo. Gene, of course, America's #1 teen singer, is a top international record artist in records in Spanish, Italian, French, and German, as well as English. In 1964, he was voted the best artist of the year in Italy and has been awarded 2 silver discs in England, recordings surpassing 250,000 sales mark. George needs no introduction to country music fans. As the alumnus of Grand Ole Opry and top 10 hits of his own, he sings to standing room only crowds. Whenever he goes, he appeared on national TV and has earned the title Mr. Country Music Western. Important factor is the huge success of the first album together and the ingredients that happily evident that one of their obviously to get a great kick out of blending their highly individual styles, and they enjoy these incursions into previously unexplored musical history. George Jones, Love Bug. The country is cornbread, yet as sophisticated as Tiffany's, is pretty well sums up George Jones. Jones Boy George. This album, music fans need only listen to any one cut of her proof above description. George Jones transcends all musical boundaries with his unique style, whether he sings an upbeat melody, such as the title tune in this album, the heart songs such as Take Me, or his unforgettable performance, the past such as Cliff Burner's mid-30s tune Faithful One. George sells it all in sincerity that marks the true artist. Not only will he be found an album means entertainment, but it clearly demonstrates how George Jones takes a song already made popular by another artist, recorded to him, and make it new again. All who have heard George Jones, especially his performances on this album, are convinced that his musical talent is boundless and future is unletting. Now stop reading this and start listening to George Jones sing Love Bug, Take Me, and other great hits. That's okay, buddy.
You can continue with your stuff.
Thank you.
Like, I'm so full because I couldn't finish the banana.
Okay. Okay. Well, everyone, we're going to kind of wrap this up a little quick here. We only got a few to go through, but George Jones featuring We Can Make It, Pictures Without You, Without Me. This one is a 4-record set. Very nice. Most of the descriptions in the back, as you've heard me talk, is more of the same. And I'm sure I repeated a lot more of the other songs that we've heard before. That George Jones, more than any other artist in the country field, is productive as fans, entertainers, won the respect of all those who have heard him in person, and have learned to know him through the best-selling recordings, picking ever since he received his first guitar when he was 9 years old, and singing just as long. George has also become known as a songwriter, and many hits have chosen field, but his greatest renown as a singer and a singer who is about one purpose in mind is do his very best at his personal appearance and via the whirling wax. The George has been phenomenally successful and can readily be seen from the long string of best-selling records is made now with the release. The new favorite, George Jones, this is presumably young man chalks another feat, and this initial album of 9 artist records is certainly agreed that the best to date is the first of many and many to come in the future. Another one with another George Jones and Mel B. Montgomery, Guest Star Records, says Mono. Ooh, look at that, old school. George Jones is probably the biggest name in country music today, is constantly on a personal appearance at TV, and of course his records can always be heard on the radio everywhere. George is a star of the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, a music capital of the world. George is joined the album by the sensational new singer Mel B. Montgomery, and this combination is unforgettable. George sings You're in My Heart and all the force and emotion, possibly by Melba's show old Ranger and classic country selection. There are most of the songs and artists. We think you enjoy presentation. George Jones, another later one, Lady's Choice, seems to have nothing but women artist on it. I wonder if they're covering his songs. I think they're singing them all together. Oh, he's doing duets with all these people. That's pretty cool. That's what it says here. Solo artist George Jones made musical history time and time again, but also no big secret that his voice always lent himself hand in glove to a good duet with a lady singer. The 10 selections of this album, which he shares of 9 the leading ladies of contemporary country music, are a fact proof positive that there's something about women that touches and enhances all the intimations and tenderness of romance and heartbreak of George's own voice and brings the best to him. For this reason, George is never a stranger to a duet. Perhaps he remembered are his classic duets with his ex-wife Tammy Wynette, Golden Ring, and We're Gonna Hold On, etc. But the fact that these recording careers have been highlighted in the fine duet and talented women almost from the beginning during the 1960s. He teamed with singers like Melba Montgomery, Marjorie Singleton, and Brenda Carter in recording a string of memorable hits that charts singles, more recently on 1979 LP My Very Special Guest, and even shared the microphone and celebrated rock and roll touch singer Linda Ronstadt. The 9 celebrated ladies of country music are heard for Ladies' Choice, and each are very one of them talented leaders in their chosen profession. Not only are them George's personal choices and duet partners, but they also come from country music's most popular, distinctive vocal stylists and tender settlers and innovation whose dark and contributed some of the most important development milestones in the history of modern country music. Loretta Lynn, one of the country music's true living female legends, could also be heard in full splendor on Ladies' Choice, enthusiastically marching George's note for a note on We Sure Make Good Love. And the last one, George Jones' Cold, Cold Heart. One of the only Jones boys born in Saratoga, Texas, is September 12, 1931. With a guitar in his hands and a song on his lips, both his parents were talented musically. Through both were non-professionals. His mother was a church pianist. His father liked to play guitar for hours away from his pipe-fitting job. They encouraged George's interest in music, gave him the first guitar when he was 9. Soon he played well in entertaining church socials and other local events. In his late teens, George joined the Marines, serving during the Korean War. Sometime after being discharged in 1954, W.H. Pappy Daly, the veteran's music executives, heard George, and a long, close association began. 1955, George had his first big hit, Why Baby Why. The other great tunes through the years are White Lightning, 1959, She Thinks I Still Care, Ache and Heartache, A Girl Used to Know, 1962, Not What I Had in Mind, 1963, The Race Is On, 1964, as many other guests like The Cold-Hearted Heart, and which included the classic collection. George's exciting career, which included TV, personal appearances, movies, and other Ivy League appearances, and record proves that George Jones is country music through and through. Resisting the Nashville hoopla, George and his family lived mostly in a small Texas town in Vader. George Jones was shown time and time again. We're still on his mind, so settle back to your feet up and listen to one of the Jones boys do. You're still on my mind. And everyone, thank you for joining me. We are done looking at all the George Jones records, and I hope you enjoy.